the inspiration for Bloodworth is the book Provinces of Night by William Gay. I read it, 8 years ago, and it really had an impact on me. And then when I met the director, Shane Taylor, his first film had a similar feel to it. It was a little $100,000 movie. So I gave him the book, and he fell for it the same way I did. So that was what got the ball rolling.
And how long did it take from the initial, from
the time
reading the book to...
From the time we got the rights until the time we shot it was 6 years. And we shot it 2 years ago. So total that up, and it's been an 8-year process. From the time that we bought the book till being able to walk into a movie theater and buy a ticket for it.
And what was the most difficult day that you had shooting, and why?
We had numerous difficult days. To pick one, actually I take that back. By the time the cameras got to rolling, in the actual creative process of truly shooting the film, every day we had a couple of days of a weather mishap, or one actor being late that kind of threw us into a tizzy. The pre-production part was sheer hell, putting all the elements together and building that house of cards. And the first, the tension really came to a boil because we didn't have all of our money. We didn't have our deal locked the day we started shooting, not till 7 o'clock that night. So we were shooting for a day without having everything in. I mean, that happens all the time. Films shoot without having their money. I can't deal with that. I can't. I have to know I can pay everybody come Friday. And Shane was the exact same way. So that first day was an immense amount of pressure. But we got it closed that night. I mean, we had the money. We had a binding agreement. We didn't have the money transfer because we didn't have a closed deal. So that day was hell. Well, we had, because T-Bone Burnett was our music supervisor. And we recorded the stuff. Chris Christopherson wrote original music for the film. So we recorded that first. And then we had a day of literally bring your records over. And I got my records like when you were 12, having listening parties with your friends. I had a day of that with T-Bone Burnett and Jennifer Jesperson, our clearance person. She had some ideas. So we would literally sit there and play a record and go, how about that over this scene? And then we were downloading stuff off the internet, things we couldn't find, and layering it over. And so we just started down the line. The director was concerned, and I agree with him, in that he didn't want anybody to recognize my voice. That's why we don't have a Dwight Yoakam song there, because Dwight Yoakam's in the film, and he didn't want anybody to be pulled out. Chris, because he's singing the song in the film and his character is a musician, that's acceptable. So we cut the film. We had Christopherson song for the first closing credit, and we had another 2.5 minutes to fill. And I said, actually, I got something that might work. So knowing that the licensing would not cost us anything, and then T-Bone listens to it, and as he's listening to it, he goes, is that you singing? So we re-recorded the drums, and we recorded those separately ourselves, and then we took it in and gave T-Bone all the stems, and he and his engineer went through and redid the entire song. My most rewarding moment, hanging out with Chris every night, and we instantly just hit it off. He's like one of my heroes. And my mother had Jesus Was a Capricorn and listened to it constantly. She actually met him in Nashville, and she said afterwards, that he doesn't realize how important some of his songs were to me. Why Me Lord and One Day at a Time. It was just kind of these, to get through some rough periods. So I grew up, my sister was a huge fan of his. So from the time I was a little boy, I knew who he was. And then I come to really put him on a pedestal as an artist, because the guys, New York claimed him as a poet and a folk singer. Nashville claimed him as a country music superstar, and Los Angeles claimed him as a movie star. And he was all those things. And so we just hit it off, and we would sit and play guitars every night. For the weeks he was there, he'd come over to my apartment, or we'd go down to there was a Blue Post bar down the way. But I would, I'm a music nut, so I'd say, well, how about the time when you landed the chopper on Cash's lawn? What really happened? So he was telling me all these stories, and we're talking about Shel Silverstein, because Shel's another hero of mine, and as was Cash. And talking about Shel, and he was talking about the environment in Nashville when he got there, you know, with all the poets and the bluegrass pickers and like artists, you know, coming together and firing off of one another, and it being so exhilarating to him. And he was going to leave that night, and he was walking down the hall in my apartment. And he turned around and he goes, "I just got to tell you, I get that same sense off you." That was, it choked me up. I mean, he left, and then it was kind of, you know, short of breath of, that's the greatest compliment anyone has ever paid me. Because this is somebody that I am accepted as an artistic equal with him.